Look at how precise her mic technique is. Now I'm kind of shocked. This looks like an SM57 or an SM58, which is a dynamic microphone, but I wonder how old she is. This is 1990? She's 20 here, right? The one that was waiting for me. Even in the recording booth, like, so this, and so this is really important. Before the advent of digital recording on analog tape was extremely expensive. So it behooved you to get an artist who could do all these things in one or two takes. And like, this is ridiculous. She's using like mic technique. Like, I feel called out because now you could just adjust the levels in post, but by doing it immaculately on the way in, you don't need to touch it up almost ever if you really get good takes. The stairwell, I wonder if she's like actually just using the stairwell for reverb. This was something that was done often, is, you know, you don't have VSTs for reverb, so usually reverb would be done in a space. Usually the way it would be done was they would play the music through speakers, through really high quality speakers, into a very high quality room and pick up the sound. So they have the room mic'd and they would pick up the sound of the room. So it wouldn't surprise me if this staircase was her trying to get reverb. Again, this is earlier in her career. I'm pretty sure, I'm not sure when in the 90s she won the Grammy, but regardless, this is probably something that they're doing intentionally. I just, oh god, yeah. It's like an award for my soul. Okay, someone's correcting me and saying that she won it in 91. So this is definitely her first go as this is her first album. And like I said, she had before, she has experience in the recording studio from her father, if I recall correctly. But yeah, the combination of recording experience and technique and the ability to sing with like a lot of passion, like, because her delivery is also immaculate as well. Okay. Yeah. Something in your eyes capture my soul. Notice how very specific she's being. She's even kind of conducting herself. If your rhythm is off in overdubs, specifically as many times as she's done and stacked these layers, it's so important to be on time, but also like listen to how brilliant she is being with the execution of the sound of the vocals. Something in your eyes capture my soul. So she's intentionally giving less of her beefy kind of diva sound here because she's trying to create a very specific aesthetic. Whereas if we go back here, so if we go back there, we realize how bad everyone else is. I mean, that's a bit of a far-reaching statement, but it's the ability to do both, right? You have to be able to rein it in. You have to be able to be full diva mode, and it's extremely difficult to pull that off. But and also in like one session to do it quickly. That's the major thing. Is like I wouldn't sound as good, but I can do these techniques to create the overdubs, but my rhythm is not so precise, so I'd have to have multiple takes. My vocal control to create different aesthetics and different flavors and different colors is something I can do, but I can't do it as quickly. And make no mistake, this is something a lot of people underestimate. They think artists just go and create these wonderful things and they speak for themselves. And that's just absolutely not how it works. If you want to be a professional, you got to churn this stuff out very, very quickly. It behooves you to do that. So, yeah. Oh, oh, that's another thing is like the people she works with are some of the best in the business. I love. She's had the same backing vocals for a long time, and I put that in quotes because yes, they are backing vocals, but oh my god, they're so good. Yeah. So doing that on a nasal continuant, so N, M, anytime where the sound is, the oral cavity is blocked off by the tongue or the mouth, so the sound and the air have to go through the nostrils, so nasal continuant. Anytime you have a situation like that, it actually really lends itself to kind of going back a little bit. Presence in the vocal range is usually felt within the 2000 hertz to 3000 hertz range. So if you want to bump up the presence of a vocal, that's definitely one way to do it. But you can cut off some of those frequencies by just nasal continuanting. Continuanting? Yeah, you can use nasal continuants to kind of duck those frequencies with just vocal technique. And so that's why she's making room for another person. And her this is another thing that's difficult with overdubs. Like a lot of people, so nowadays in the digital recording space, people just like EQ, they pan, they do levels. But this stuff that she does, and we've discussed this on this channel plenty, was her vowels, right? She'll do bright, she'll do the T thing, she'll do this, get different tone qualities from different vowels. And she'll use that in her overdubs as well, which is insane. Her delivery and how she goes between something that's very rhythmic and then something that's really legato is incredible. And again, like there are singers who can do this stuff and do it live, but the difference is that live she can also make adjustments based on what she wants in the album itself, which again takes recording experience, which again is not something that's widely available to people at this time. So the experience, even though she's 30, which is relatively young professionally. Maybe as a pop artist, it's old, but I'm not old, so there's that. But anyway, so with her, there's this wealth of experience, knowledge, and execution, both technically and as a recording artist, and you can see it again and again in this little video here. Listen, look at that. Look at that. This is, again, before you could just EQ everything, like mic technique, right? So, like, look at the other singer. She's like going like this, and that has a very specific effect. It really cuts the low end. The way that they're so cognizant of the microphone is like, it's just so good. All right, I wanted to talk about what she does here on that little crack that she did. What she did was called an aspirate abrupt. So what we have here is we have an aspirate gradual. You can see that there's this this little V shape right here, right? So the folds slowly come together because of what's known as the Bernoulli effect, which I will demonstrate. So the Bernoulli effect is how the vocal folds come together. So these are two pieces of paper. If I blow through them, you'd think that they would blow open, right? But actually the opposite happens. They come closer together. So when she does that little crack thing, what she's doing is what's called an aspirate abrupt, okay? And this is different. Let me show you the same things, or let me show you the same waveforms over the different techniques. So what we saw there was I need to fix this one. What we saw there was an aspirate abrupt. Sorry, an aspirate gradual. So, right, and you can see that it's a gradual because of this, like, very much like this V thing. Now, if I did a glottal, that would mean the folds start closed. Right? And this is just like a flat, line, right? It's very, very abrupt and very kind of aggressive, whereas an aspirate abrupt is this. Right? And so that's what she's doing, is she's doing an aspirate abrupt. She's basically throwing a lot of air in such a way that the folds come together very quickly, and that's how she gets that little crack. And because she has the polyps, the crack has a very, very distinct quality that is very, very nice and just kind of idiomatic to her. So yeah, let's get back into this. Like and subscribe. Is that the Titanic ocarina right there? I think that was the Titanic ocarina. There's just something magical about two unbelievably great singers just coming in and killing it like this. This is a gift to be able to have this in a recording. It's beautiful.
This part.
Awesome.
It's okay, play. Riri and Kenny sitting in a tree. Okay. Now, what we're talking about in the beginning of the song really has nothing to do with the movie. I'm gonna take it from the second verse, okay?
What a musician. I think a lot of people will look at that situation and be like, look at how long she's holding the note, yada yada. It's very vocally impressive. Listen, and it is. That shit is hard. But it's not. That's not what I care about. That's not why I keep coming back to Mariah. This is why. This listen to the phrasing here. Right? The contrast. Do do dee do. Right, like that, like contrast makes it's so distinct, and it really gives a very specific shape to the phrase. Her ability to go, she's just like, hey, let's belt, let's break into this sort of like a very, very heady falsetto-ish thing for the color of it. Let's do these runs. And you have to understand that it's extremely difficult to pull that off when you go from belting to runs. And let's talk about why. So the reason why it's extremely difficult, and I really need to fix this auto transition nonsense, but anyway, the reason why this is extremely difficult is because belting involves the tilting of the cricoid cartilage. So you have this cartilage right here, and it goes up, supposedly. There's not entire agreements about this, but let's not get into it. The cricoid cartilage tilts this way, and that brings the vocal folds closer together, which makes them fatter. So what we have in this situation is this goes up and this way, right? Oops. So that's the cricoid cartilage going this way. Now what that does is it brings the vocal folds closer together. So these are the vocal folds right here. And so they come closer together and they fatten up. Oh my goodness. So that's what happens when you have a belt. Your folds fatten. And the reason I get into this is because when you do a run, you actually want your folds to be very light, very thin, because the thinner they are, the easier they move around, right? And so to go between all of these things of like belt, doing runs, using kind of a flipping of the folds to get this lovely airy falsetto-y sound in contrast to these kind of big epic sounds. And remember, folks, falsetto is not a bad thing. Right? Every time I say falsetto, someone in the comments goes like, well, she's super good, which is a face only a mother can love. So but that's what I see in the comments is that, right? But the point I'm trying to get at here is that there's a lot going on that she's doing very quickly and smoothly, not just because it's technically impressive, am I pointing this out? It's also musically very pertinent. It's really, really, really gorgeous stuff. Let's listen to it again, because I am. Is it weird to say I'm a whore for this stuff? Is that like not woke? like I don't want to throw shade on a modern day artist you know, I'm not going to name names, Taylor Swift, but like some of them can't really do all of this live. And it's really, really, really nice, and it feels a lot more genuine and heartfelt, in my opinion, when you get somebody in the recording who just like goes and does it for real. Like, this is incredible. Like, there's so much going on here technically as well. So like we talked about early in the video, aspirate above and aspirate graduals, right? So that right, it's a glottal. So she closes her folds and then kind of gradually opens them. And it's incredible because she's belting too. So like the dangerous thing about belting is that because your folds are so thick, if the pressure builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and I'm going to take off my ring. No, I'm not, because my fingers are fat. But it builds up and it builds up and it builds up, and then you get, whoa, boom, ow, it still hurts even without the ring. But that's what happens with the vocal folds. They just kind of, they're so thick, pressure builds up, and then they flip and they bang together like that. That's if you do too much air when you're belting. That's one of the reasons why belting can be dangerous. But like, she's just got it on lock. You'll never pull through, don't hesitate. So a lot of this is not necessarily like larynx or vowels or anything like that. This is really just breath that's guiding the technique. She's doing other things, of course, but like breath is what really determines a lot of these sounds. You'll never pull through. Right, that you'll never. That little sort of thing there is like the air is coming in gentle, and your folds are really, really slack. And then the aspirate abrupt, she goes from to yeah, something like that. Where she, like, I don't work on this stuff, and I should. But like, this is like, yeah, she's going into a belt, but she's doing so with such control of her breath that she gradually starts putting the folds together. And that is, there's two parts of the equation to that. Is one, her cricoid cartilage is not tilted, so she isn't tilting the cricoid cartilage here to make things fat at first. So she does aspirate abrupt, and then immediately tilts the cricoid cartilage. And you know, she's not like sitting there going like like she's not calculating this. She's, you know, she's an athlete. She doesn't think about this stuff. She just executes because she's really good. And so, you know, it's mind-boggling the level of control that Mariah Carey consistently has, and she brings it in the studio and then she brings it live. It's really, really, really admirable. I mean, like, it just makes me so happy. It really does.
We got Mariah Carey in the studio. Oh my God, we can do this.
What it is they laid in.
I love this. I love this. Imagine being a celebrity, and like, maybe you just didn't sleep that night. You know, you get a little bloodshot eye or whatever, right? You need some glasses. You need your coffee because it's whatever in the morning, right? Maybe you just got off a tour, and then so gracious as to still sing for folks. I mean, there's a reason why her fan base is so crazy loyal.
Oh my God, we can do this.
What it is they laid a nice beat, and now I'm just gonna do this chorus. I'm gonna stack it a few times, meaning I'm gonna double my own voice and try to match it right.
AKA overdubs.
And then I'm probably going to call the girls in to add some harmonies or whatever if we feel the need to do that. If not,
remember at the very start, it's just going to be pianos for the very, very start of it.
Hey now, guys.
And so this is what's really important to notice here. The levels are not shaped yet, right? This isn't mixed. We'll practice a little change, right? Her attention to detail right here.
Come back. Here we go.
Just the first half you're getting, right? Yeah. Okay, let me get it one more time.
So this is another great example of if you're very, very, very good, you can lay these things down very quickly. You can make a lot of really high quality takes and then pick those because you've done it so quickly and it's not going to kill the time, right? For the most part, it's not hard. It does take time and skill eventually to kind of be able to do all of this at all, and that's true, but it takes another level of artist to be able to do it fast, and that's essential for being a professional, right? Because what the benefit of that is that she lays down a lot of quality and then can be selective even of the high quality takes, right?
Come back, come back.
It was a later session than I had anticipated.
Darling Regis is early. What made that man make the show so early? Yeah. We love him, but it's early.
Forget about it.
Now this is the part that I actually didn't quite. I mean, it makes sense, because she has the recording chops right here. She's probably been doing it. Let's see, she started recording in her father's studio at 86, right? So we have 20 years of experience here. So this is something that I think a lot of people don't realize, is that someone like Mariah Carey is gonna go into the mixing booth and be like, I don't like that, I like this, right? She is in charge of her own aesthetic because she makes people a lot of money. She brings in that cash at the cost of retail worker employees shopping on Christmas or working on Christmas or just being there from November to December. Why do they play holiday music starting in November? I haven't even gotten over the turkey hangover yet. Anyway, totally not important. She is in charge and being selective, and she has the experience and probably more knowledge and context of what works on her albums more than anybody. So she is there making decisions. She has the creative vision. She's not just somebody who goes in front of the microphone and lays down a bunch of tracks, although that's great and impressive as well.
You was going. I was gonna do it, but then I thought it might take too long and not be necessary. But if you like it.
So this is actually something that's really cool. Is Mariah's? She has an arsenal of technique that she employs when it makes sense. So what she's doing right there is she's using very, 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 very little air, and that allows for a lot more agility because, as we discussed before, the Bernoulli effect, right? Your folds are going to come together based on how much air you're giving, and so we see a lot of artists kind of use this, like Yeba. Yeba is one of my favorite examples of people who are just really relaxed, very little inhale, very measured exhale. And so we see Mariah doing this here. Whereas even just a few minutes ago, we saw Mariah with an incredible belt and incredible power. She's very, very versatile, which adds to the value of the overdubs and how crazy good it is.
What I would do right now, since I can come back and get those other parts later, Brian, I just want to go to the T-Pain section, the second half, when he says, soon as I walk through the door, and I just want to do some little, hey, I want to do a double of what I just did, because I like that part. That's with the girl.
There is a reason why the title recording artist has application. I think a lot of people see recording as this kind of lower brow thing that you just kind of do for the sake of live performing, that live performing is significantly more difficult. Live performing is totally unforgiving of mistakes, but that doesn't mean being a recording artist is insignificant. It is incredibly difficult to craft an album, and it's a very different skill than it is for live performing. I just want to show people, this is one of the best pianists to ever play Bach. So Glenn Gould was on the spectrum, and so he very kind of quirky approach. He was specifically known for being able to extract. Bach has like a bunch of voices, right? And each one has their own melody. It's counterpoint. That's why people love Bach. And so it's like, it's not just like, here's some chords and here's a melody. It's like there are 4 melodies. And Glenn Gould was particularly notable and significant in that he was able to draw out every single voice. And he, as recording became more available, he really jumped on that bandwagon. So here's one of the most technical pianists to ever live. And he's like, I want to go into recording to experiment. And he almost stopped performing live altogether. And I love this example because even when you are like mind-bogglingly a genius with a genius like seen only like once a century on an instrument that is like got so many incredible people playing it who started when they're 3 years old, like even when you're that person, going and doing a recording is extremely, extremely different. He did so many different experimental things as a pianist, a lot of which bothered people, which frankly I kind of love, but he's extraordinary. And so Mariah kind of gets put into the same category, I think, here.
Answer part to what he's saying.
So good. The really heavy boom, 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 and like the heavy percussion that's very idiomatic of hip hop and rap. And she's right on time. She's right on time. Her timing is perfect, but she brings a little bit of this kind of subtle, little airy high end of a note, almost like it's a string. I love this. I love the use of auto-tune for its very, very specific qualities when you crank it. And I love that she's confident enough to be able to just use auto-tune, because a lot of singers get scared to use it, but because they're afraid of the criticism that, I mean, T-Pain is a perfect example. He was criticized for like a decade before he was taken seriously as a singer and as a rapper because of the extensive use of auto-tune. And this is during that period, and Mariah's like, nope, that's the sound. We're going for it right now. She's so versatile in terms of her ability to kind of genre bend, which is really, really nice to see. Her ability to kind of decrescendo with the music while on the mic and recording is great. Again, too many people rely on that volume knob in post, and she's just got it. She's got it on lock because she's done it so many times.
If it's a camera up in here, let's just go to Let It Play, if you would, and I'm going to jump in on that line, okay? I think when I sang it down first, I didn't get that. I got to do the overlaps now.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. This makes me laugh. Can you just take me from the, if it's a camera up in here, the second time, for the YouTube line. Close up your on your mouth and brag about the secret rendezvous. I will hunt you down.
One of the reasons I love and respect beatboxing is because consonants are percussive. Singers have at their disposal percussion, and this is a perfect example of using that. So this is a beatboxer, and listen to specifically how the consonants are used to create a percussive element. And obviously in beatboxing, the consonants are more at the forefront of what the music is about. But check this out, and we'll see the similarities. So that B, up, bum, 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 right? That is a vocal line, but the B is treated almost like it's a kick drum. So let's go back to Mariah and listen and appreciate how she uses those consonants so well.
I want to double the I will hunt you down, please. I will hunt you down. Sorry, one more time.
Right? Like the percussive elements of the consonants really matter a lot in this specific section.
I want to double the I will on your mouth and brag about the secret rendezvous. I will hunt you down. Sorry, one more time.
Really? I thought that was great.
Let me just do one single track just to make sure we have it, because I think it sounds better not doubled.
Interesting.
On your mouth and brag about the secret rendezvous. I will hunt you down. Cause baby,
You know what I got to do?
celebrate together.
That part. Let me just like do a little,
Celebrate together.
that little part.
We're here to celebrate together. I wish that we could spend the holidays together.
This is really, really important right here. Her main vocals have already been laid down, and so what she's doing right now is she is trying to get this clean harmony, and so she's really reining it in.
Celebrate together. I wish that we could spend the holidays together. And then his friends said it's too soon to settle down.
I just take that second.
It's too soon to settle down. Say he's a player, slow it down.
Just that part right there.
All right, I'll jump to it after we get the intro.
Cool.
To our love story. And there's an answer.
I want to be so successful that I can bring my dog to work and just be like, no, the dog is staying. And like engineers may be like, oh, well, I can't breathe. And I'm like, well, it sounds like a personal problem. The dog is staying.
Alone, because you know you can survive.
What's interesting is that as she has aged, I mean, and this is normal, the voice has become so much more lush. And you know, the high facility or the ability to high notes as you age kind of gets a little bit more compromised because everything gets thick. The vocal folds are like the nose; they just don't stop growing. And I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah. Oh no, but it doesn't. They don't stop growing. So what we have here is a Mariah Carey with a far more lush sound, and people like to say like, oh my goodness, like she's not the same singer she was. The reason why she's not the same singer she was is because she's got a different instrument that she's working with, quite literally.
Show them, darling.
Is that her singing opera?
Songwriter and producer.
That little crack that she has in there is so. This is just, she's so good at this. There's these little nuggets. She's so playful with her phrasing.
And producer.
That is just attention to detail. Whistle note bonkerness aside, is that a word? Is bonkerness a word? I don't even know. Anyway, whistle note bonkerness aside, that actually makes quite a lot of sense from an arrangement point of view. You have a much higher phrase that you're doing to kind of have these harmonies, but specifically what's nice about whistle in this situation is that the body is just not there. The low end kind of like disappears, and so it makes for a great overdub, just like from an acoustic point of view. And the other thing that's completely demented is she's harmonizing while whistling. She's harmonizing while whistling. It's not fair. It's not right. It's unnatural.
We stole a moment in time. Give you everything that you needed. I was even down to repeat it. Cause when you love someone, you just don't treat them bad.
Yeah, so those are like anybody act up. You know what I'm saying?
That one definitely. I mean, come on.
A dream that brought follow that love of you.
I'm feeling all out of
Oh God, she just sounds so good.
My element.
She would not leave.
Cause me and him will talk about you and I mean like Snoop with that hose. Like I need you, baby, and everybody knows you without me is like Snoop without home.
That's great. Oh man, the one thing I do love about the fandom that Mariah has is that there's so many great like compilations like this where you really do get to appreciate a lot of these things. So to the original maker of the video, who is Creative MC Tube, that's all one name. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. There's a bit of a channel update that's going to happen, kind of a big one. I am going to be, starting on June 2nd, I will be streaming on twitch.tv, where I do these live stream reacts, well, live. It's going to be every Thursday and Saturday at 12 p.m. PST. I really should have added an S to the Saturday, shouldn't I?